Welcome back, dear listeners, to the next episode of Grimlore, the lore podcast for your Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar needs. Hello again, dear listeners. This is your dwarven host, Gerald, just sitting at the tavern bar all by my little lonesome, because I think Rayway is still running away from our surly knight guest from last episode, but I was joined by another knight here who's sitting beside me. We just chatted up a really good conversation. So until Rayway comes back to teach us about the wonderful world of Warhammer Fantasy, let me introduce you all to our new guest, Jack.
Hello. How are you?
What brings you to our little tavern around the bend?
Considering my, in multiple ways, empty bowels, something to feed on.
What kind of thing to feed on?
Well, considering the brain case I'm currently inhabiting is empty, maybe some interesting information and stories.
Brain case. You mind if I just take a holy shit! Okay. Sorry, I did not know you were one of Nagash's folks.
Unpleasantly,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, all folks are welcome here at the tavern. Just keep your weapons at the table. We'll all get along fine. So, oh, really? You're here?
Hate you.
What? What did I do?
The next time we get another one of those inbred horse fuckers, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Oh shit! Hey, I'm still under that blood oath, so you can't do a thing to me right now.
I see. You got a zombie in the house.
No,
as long as he's not
chasing
me with a sword, I don't fucking care.
Okay, no. He's cool. We actually struck up a pretty good conversation. He's offered me this weird looking thing that looks like warpstone, but it's kind of different. But anyways, so I figured he might be interested to learn some stories from you. Maybe.
Sounds wonderful to me.
See, he's interested. So how about we have a seat? I'll give you your loot back, and then you can spin some tales and songs about Warhammer Fantasy. Right, buddy?
Give me 1 second. Oh, that's good. Okay.
Feel better?
Yeah, it's good. That's good warpstone right in my veins. Whew. Okay.
Okay. Jack, you better tell me where you got that warpstone from, because I might need some later.
Oh, plenty of crevices and cracks, things are seeping through. I'm sure it just fell out of somewhere.
Okay, I'm going to regret asking that question.
Falls out of the sky, it's free.
No one owns this guy.
All right. So I am here. How's everyone doing tonight? Or afternoon, I suppose, in the Undead Knight's case.
Oh, well, it's cold as usual.
All right. So you guys know the drill? I'm sure Gerald knows the drill, but I'm going to ask him anyway. And since we have a guest who wasn't here in the previous episode, Gerald, would you be a kind dwarven co-host and do a good old 60-second recap for myself, our listeners, and our zombified skeleton friend over there?
Previously on Grimlore.
We learn more about the Empire of Man and what the hell happened to it in the 3 days after Sigmar decided to fuck this shit, I'm out, and become a god. So basically 3 days after he up and just pieces out, everything almost falls apart in the infighting. But someone comes in and they all decide to become a democracy, which is the antithesis of an empire, but I digress. And then comes an Emperor Sigismund, who decides to... The best thing would be they expand and made a shit ton of enemies along the way, including the dwarves, and I will forever hate them for it.
15
Mic
seconds.
Drop.
Oh, damn. Impressive. Literally just done.
Okay, not quite. They also got into a fight with Bretonnia. They won, by the way. They fought a bunch of wild men, and Middle Land is a... we don't like Middle Land. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, time's up.
Booyah! 60 seconds.
I'm sure Jack understands everything that happened in full detail.
I must, yeah. Unless you would prefer to re-say it in a dead language, but I don't think that's going to work too well.
I mean, he's a dwarf. Their language doesn't change even after like thousands of years.
It's enough to be legally dead.
For me, it's enough to be biologically dead.
Ah, you got me there.
Enjoying this. So I've been talking to Gerald this past week, just for everyone listening, and for our guest here. And this episode's been hyping me up for a good little bit. But the problem is that I am trying to contain my hype because every podcast has like that first couple episodes. There's always that one that's like really good. This is what I think and what I hope is going to be our episode. Because just
excited.
Yeah, just because like I don't know, I feel really strongly about it because the topic is really awesome, and as much as I want to like talk about it, I really want to talk about it. A part of me is trying to contain it. Okay, so I'm ready to discuss. I don't know if anyone has any words they want to get in. Anyone want to discuss anything else before we actually begin?
Not at all. Not on my end.
My body is ready.
But not your soul. That sounds like some heresy.
I think I left mine at the door.
Yep, I feel mine kind of draining away. Jack, would you happen to
Do with that.
He's not eating you. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this place doesn't spell spare ribs. I'm not really in the mood.
Oh my fucking god. All right. Sorry, I am hyped. I'm trying to contain the hype though. So from last we left off, as Joe was saying, the Empire had a period of enormous expansion. Blah blah blah. Sigismund decided he was going to expand everywhere, and then decided, oh wait, people have actual equipment. I'm going to retreat. I don't like Sigismund either, but I like to make fun of him. Regardless, Middleland, as Joe was saying, kind of fucks the pooch a little bit, but with political corruption. This is just kind of a little setup to help Jack and the audience remember everything, assuming they aren't just doing one episode after another. If they are, good for you guys. Awesome on your end. But regardless, so general setup of this time is that this episode is going to be covering the age of the three emperors, which depending on when you guys listen to this episode, or for anyone who has some knowledge on the upcoming Warhammer: The Old World, this is the time period where the Old World will be set, the upcoming Games Workshop game that's coming out. So this is why I'm saying... Oh, so go ahead, Jill.
Oh, I was saying, this ought to be cool.
Yeah. This is basically the equivalent of Warhammer Fantasy's Horus Heresy. Now, I was wrong. I was wrong in the previous... Well, I wasn't wrong. I'm never wrong, obviously. I just need to add more information. So... Previously, I said the age of the three emperors was set 300, 400 years in the past, which was correct. The problem is that while I did say the age of the three emperors took place, 400 years before the current timeline, like before the present day of Warhammer Fantasy, that's when it ends. The actual period of the age of the three emperors lasts around about 1,000 years.
Hold on. Let me do the math in my head here. Because we know you suck at numbers. How does that work? If we're talking human lifespans, because compared to you and me and our dear friend Jack here, human lifespans are very short. So how does
actually?
So how does an era of three emperors last 1,000 years?
Well, it wasn't always three emperors. I'll actually get to how it becomes three emperors and the time periods that follow the age of three emperors. Because you'll start to find out that the age of three emperors is very much similar to the collapse of Rome in that, the collapse, how Rome was one empire and then it kind of broke apart?
Yes.
This is basically Warhammer Fantasy's equivalent of it. Except instead of, fracturing the two, it fractured the three. And we'll get to it. It gets kind of humorous. And by humorous, I mean fucking ridiculous.
As is true Warhammer fashion.
Yes, indeed. So, to kind of set the stage, to give some context, the Empire of Mankind, which is located in the Old World, which for our skeleton friend over here is basically what I would consider basically Germany, where Germany or most of Europe will be located in the Warhammer Fantasy world. I'm not sure if, Jack, you have any context for the actual geography of the planet?
I'm really bone dry on information for this one. I can't tell you anything.
Oh my fucking god.
To the Awesome Pictures channel immediately.
So
Ah,
one, I hate the puns, but I also love the puns. Secondly, in the art and picture section of our Discord server, join the Patreon to get access to it. I am currently posting a picture of the Empire of Man as of 1153 IC, which is of the Imperial calendar, and you can get a general idea of the layout of the Empire at this point. So,
hey, and it's not 4 pixels wide. Yay, you did the thing.
I did better this time. So, so this is basically what the Empire looks like. It's a bunch of separate provinces that all kind of cooperate and all kind of serve the emperor. Which, as Joe was saying, it becomes a democracy, which is the antithesis to an empire. But that's beside the point. The issue is that because of the death of an emperor named Mandred Skavenslayer, because of his death, what was that, Gerald?
Yes.
Best emperor ever.
Yes.
So
Sorry,
basically, during the Skaven War, look at our first episode for more information on the Skaven War. The Empire is basically being assaulted by the Skaven, and Mandred Skavenslayer basically single-handedly rallied the Empire together and basically saved the Empire to defeat the Skaven. The problem is he came down with a crippling case of stabbed to death. So,
wasn't it like 13 times?
I think it was like it was like a dozen times. He woke up dead. He also happened to have like a dozen stab wounds.
It would have been very poetic if it was 13.
No, Mandred Skavenslayer, amazing emperor. Like I said, he rallied the empire against the Skaven. But the thing is that before he took the reins, like before he took power, the empire was already a place that was really rife with corruption, like political corruption and like provincial infighting. Like every province was basically at war, was not at war with each other, but they all had their own like political rivalries that stretched back like hundreds, if not thousands of years, naturally. As this was going on, when Mandred Skavenslayer died, the empire basically went from like, you know, a slow descent followed by Mandred basically catching it and stopping it to following his death immediately plummeting like the stock market.
They have nice things.
So,
we.
So with his death, normally when an emperor dies, all the provinces kind of, you know, they vote amongst themselves for a new emperor. Like, oh, who amongst us is getting the next new emperor? The problem is that because of the corruption, like the political corruption that was rife, all of the political rivalries, and the fact that they were all literally recovering from the Black Plague and a war against like millions of rat people, the empire was not exactly in a cooperative mood. The provinces were not exactly on speaking terms with one another. And for literally the next 207 fucking years, no emperor was properly elected.
Staple of my fellow dwarves, let it burn.
So what I mean by wasn't properly elected is more there were emperors that did exist during this 207-year period, but none of them could really accomplish anything worth mattering. Like you could become the emperor, and you might rule for like 10 years at most. At most, you would rule for like 10 years before you're assassinated, or you're like deposed of power for whatever reason. And during those 10 years, you might try to like, you might bring stability to one province or two provinces or three provinces. But immediately after you depose of power, all the provinces immediately started infighting again. All your reforms are undone in the second you leave office.
Sorry. So it's like the problem with the guy that immediately preceded Sigmar. Is just like he may have been the greatest emperor ever, but he's like, but did you become a god? No, forget you.
Yeah, literally. It was very much the concept of like, oh well, you could do something, but it's immediately undone after you're gone. This is why for those 207 years, anyone who became emperor, they're not recorded. Like you could become an emperor during those 207 years. The second year to pose of power, you're not even recorded. Your memory isn't even like part of the records because that's how little you would have done in the grand scheme of things.
Either that, or it sounds like one of the scribes just decided to be a lazy bitch and just ignore it.
It's said that he reunited all of the empire and defeated a dragon ogre Shaggoth. Should we record this? We could. but I'm too lazy to reach my pen.
Oh,
If you don't really
dear.
capture the hearts of the people, there's no point holding the spine to it.
He has a point.
So naturally, this literally meant that the empire was fracturing. Like every single province was basically, they were almost independent in every single way, but like officially. Like you could be the count, which is like the equivalent to like provincial governor of like Talabakland, and you might be completely isolated from like all your neighboring provinces just because of how much political infighting there is going on right now. Like your neighboring provinces might not even like trade with you because of like political rivalries that's going on, because people are just kind of that pissed off with you. And this also meant that some provinces were basically taking advantage of how weak the empire was as a whole. Like again, for example, I might be the elector count, which is what the provincial governor would be called. I might have like an issue with Gerald's province because like our provinces have been enemies for like years or whatever. And I'd
Because
be
dwarves are
like,
better.
oh, sure, keep telling yourself that.
Mm-hmm. And I will.
So I might think, oh, well, because the empire has no emperor right now, I'll invade a city right on the border of right between our provinces and claim it for myself. Because since there's no standing emperor, no one's going to stop me from laying claim to a bunch of his cities on his border. And Gerald might do the same thing to the neighbor next to him, and this could continue for years, to the point that the borders were basically constantly shifting and changing during these 207 years. It was not a great time. It was literally not a great time. To put in perspective, imagine if all 50 states of America, well, all the 50 states that were available on the continent, immediately started like isolating themselves and immediately started like grabbing territories next to one another. That is the equivalent of what's going on.
And you know what they would all say, Ray?
What's that?
Yep, I'll fucking do it again.
Oh my fucking god. Always with the jokes.
But you love me for it.
I do. It's hilarious. Now, not only were the provinces fighting against each other, but you also had cities within those provinces that are fighting against their own province. So you could have like a city within a province that's like, oh, no. We don't like you. We want to join this province next to us because of whatever reason. Because, like, oh, ancestral bullshit for some reason. So now this entire city is rebelling against the province itself. It was, to compare it to anything, compare it to like the Age of Strife in Warhammer 40k, where it's everyone's out for everyone else, everyone's isolated from everyone else, and it's just not a good time for anyone.
Everyone's out for number one. Otherwise, they're stepping in number two.
If you're not in first place, you may as well be last.
Exactly.
So again, for 207 years, this continued until Middenhelm, or rather, until the Grand Duke, which is like the leader of a city of Middenhelm, which is the capital city of Middenland, which Gerald doesn't like. I kind of don't like it because of the political corruption that they had during the Age of Expansion. It wasn't totally their fault, but that's besides the point.
Let me guess. Midland did nothing wrong.
No, they okay, look, they inherited a city that was full of corruption, so it's not their fault. But
all I'm hearing is Midland did nothing wrong.
What they're going to do next is definitely something wrong.
Okay, tell me about it.
So the Grand Duke of Middenhelm, again, it's one of the cities in Middenland. To put into perspective, every city, the capital city of every single province is basically the name of the province followed by Helm. So the capital of Middenland is Middenhelm. You kind of get the joke. You can't get the ref. You can't get the.
Yeah, that tracks.
Now, like I said, because cities were literally like cut off from the province, or like there were cities that were in open rebellion against the province themselves, the city of Middenhelm was technically in rebellion against the province of Middenland. The Grand Duke of Middenhelm, which is probably one of the coolest fucking cities because it's inside of a fucking crater, and the walls of the crater, I don't know how to put it, are basically like lined with cannons. So you can't take the city by force. Because if you try to take the city, the cannons that are lined all around the walls will start opening fire on you.
That's actually pretty damn cool. That makes me think of like the capital of the Fire Nation from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's like
Yeah,
it's situated inside the crater of a volcano. Like,
yeah, that's
how
the
can you
best way
get
to put it.
more awesome than that?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. So the Grand Duke of Middenhelm sees that, is kind of like, okay, well, you know what? I'm tired of all this like anarchy. I'm tired of all this fucking destruction and chaos in going on in my province. So he rallies his like militia of Middenhelm and begins systematically conquering the entire province, city by city, one after another. And along his conquest, he actually ends up claiming one of the Rune Fangs. Now, for
Ooh.
Jack, who probably doesn't know what a Rune Fang is, Gerald,
Let
do
me check,
you
make sure
remember?
he's. Let me check, make sure he's still alive. And oh shit, I just pulled out his arm. And just kind of.
Oh, it's plug
There
and
we
play.
go.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just
Sorry
put it in
about that. I'll bring some hobby glue next time.
Nah, the rotting flesh sticks it well, perfectly fine.
So for our rotting undead companion, Gerald, do you want to try and explain what a Rune Fang is, if you yourself remember?
Okay, so a Rune Fang was one of those special weapons that Sigmar granted to the 10, 9, 10, 10 tribes that joined him, and was basically the equivalent to like a Valyrian steel sword from Game of Thrones, if our undead friend is familiar with that franchise. Or basically a very significant and special weapon that's like an ancestral heirloom, essentially.
Yes, exactly. But here's another thing about the swords, about the Rune Fangs. All of them are like blessed by the dwarves because they're all like dwarven swords. They're all blessed to make it so that if you're wounded by them, you never heal. Like the wound can never heal.
Dwarven engineering at its finest.
Like a
I
god
think the
awful
old-
relation. Goodness me, goodness awful relationship. Sorry.
I think you mean such your awful relationship.
Yes. Sorry.
So, I think the only way to like heal a Rune Fang wound is like with like a miracle from a god or some shit. Like it's some extreme thing that's the only way to heal the wound. But besides the point, these swords were like given to like the chieftains, the kings, the lords of like these individual provinces that Sigmar rallied, and they're basically meant to be like a badge of office. And it's almost like if you wield the Rune Fang of Middenland in this example, you technically have like the authority to rule Middenland. You don't automatically take control like it's a fucking like magic sword or whatever, but it's kind of like the sword of King Arthur. Whoever holds this sword is the rightful heir or the rightful ruler of like this land or whatever.
I was gonna ask because like, are each of these Rune Fangs like not necessarily coded, but like I don't know, connected or magically tied to each of the provinces to where I don't know some magical BS goes on, and that's how you're able to like you had the Rune Fang of Middenland. If I would suddenly decide to go to Reichland, it just wouldn't work. Or am I making any
No,
sense?
they still work regardless. It's more just like each sword is uniquely designed. Like for example, you cannot confuse the Rune Fang of Midland with the Rune Fang of Reichland or Averland. Like they're each unique swords, like tailored to that region. That doesn't mean that like, oh, if I have Midland sword, it doesn't work in the other provinces. It's still a fucking Rune Fang. It's still a dwarven crafted sword. It's more just like the symbol of it. It's more just the fact that it's a symbol of office.
Okay, so that's actually something that they have over the Infinity Gauntlet.
And that's actually very true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So part of the reason why. Oh, go ahead.
Marvel, not MCU lore here.
Maybe one day.
One day, maybe.
It's not that grim enough though. Maybe one day we'll cover Marvel Ruins and we'll cover that dumpster fire of a comic.
I don't know. I don't want to get slapped with a lawsuit by Darth Mickey.
For those who know, you know. For those who don't know, please God, don't look at Marvel Ruins. Okay.
Is that the one where it's like everything that could go wrong goes wrong?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
oh yeah.
Yep.
I've seen the one with Iron Man where it's like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like, I hate that comic. Makes
Sad
me uncomfortable.
times. Sad times.
So, like I was saying, these swords don't do anything, or rather, as soon as they do anything, they're still fucking magic swords. The thing is that it's more like you could conquer the entire province, but but if you don't have the sword, it kind of like it's like kind of a sting against your legitimacy kind of thing. Like, to go back to the Game of Thrones or like the Song of Ice and Fire series, it's very similar to like when Aegon the Unworthy gave Daemon Blackfire the sword Blackfire. It's a sword that belongs to the king, but if you give it to someone that isn't the king, it kind of creates this whole power vacuum of like, well, they should be king if you have the king's sword. Like, you could be the ruler by all means, but if you don't have the king's sword, it's kind of like you're kind of kneecapping yourself kind of thing.
I was a king once, but then I gave away my sword.
That's how marriage
You
works.
should do that. Pretty sure I lost my kingship.
You have revoked your king card. Look on the back.
So-
Make sure the warranty hasn't expired.
made in Midland.
Damn it.
Wait, no, it wouldn't be Midland. Made in Grand Cafe.
Oh. I
You cannot
I have
remove
nothing-
that joke. That is hilarious.
I have nothing to say to that.
I'm not quite sure I get that one.
I'll tell you
Do you
when
want to
you're
explain
older.
the joke? Or should we just leave it empty?
I have enough emptiness inside me. I don't think I need another one.
Grand Cafe is the Asian Empire equivalent in Warhammer Fantasy.
Oh, I was really confused because I thought you were talking about like a restaurant or something.
Grand Cathay does make really good food. So
Imagining a sword at a restaurant called Grand Cafe. This comes with the kids' meal. It's a fucking rune fang. Just okay.
And what did you get in your Happy Meal there, Tommy?
Pulls out a sword that's bigger than the entire box. Oh, I don't know, mommy, but it sure looks cool.
Okay, just remember to eat your udon noodles.
Now, what's funny is that although basically this is where Midland was one of the first provinces to like get its shit together, is why I'm kind of bringing up why it gets its rune fang, because during this whole like period of unrest, a lot of the rune fangs either go missing or are no longer in the hands of the elector counts, which means like you could be the political leader of a province, but you no longer have like your sword of your like badge of office. It's like missing. It's either been stolen. It might be sold in the fucking black market for all you know. It could be stolen by a thief. It could be missing. It's basically Midland was the only one to actually get its sword back at this point in time.
Well, I was gonna say, well, if most of them are gone or missing, then like, what's the point anymore?
It's more like a rallying cry. Like, it'd be very much like getting like, I'm assuming everyone here has played Skyrim.
Yes.
A bit, yeah.
It's very similar to like when Ulfric Stormcloak sends you on the fetch quest to grab the crown of Windhelm, like that dragon crown. It's very much like, oh, even though like no one has used this crown in like thousands of years, it's more of what the crown represents than what it actually does.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah. So basically, Midland was a very powerful one at this time. However, that does not mean that they are the one who does the most harm in what's going to happen, because what happens is this period becomes very quickly known as the Age of Wars.
This is war. I do not care. Side
glorious.
Is the Age of Wars is technically like the first step. It's like the first phase of the Age of Three Emperors. So like consider it like it's like a season within like the year that is the Age of Three Emperors.
And now we've circled back around to the whole Warhammer theme. There is only war.
Exactly. Now, the thing is, though, is that you would think that the Age of Wars wouldn't have an emperor. but actually it ends up getting an emperor, which is the reason why there's so much war. So one of the elector counts, the one of Stirland, which if you guys can look at the map, you'll notice is located fairly close to, yeah, it's like fairly close to Midland. Not, it's like 2 provinces over, but it's close enough. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's kind of important, or rather, those 2 provinces are very important to the Age of 3 Emperors, because because the Elector Count Wilhelm becomes the new emperor. And the people of Stirland are very traditional people, like very traditional. And because of that, they actually hold very strong like ties and opinions to Sigmar, who is the chief god of the empire. He's the chief deity. And when Wilhelm becomes the emperor, he doesn't want to be another one of the like emperors that are lost to time. He doesn't want to be, forgotten. He wants to actually fix the empire because he has seen the last 207 years as like pure anarchy, pure chaos. He wants to, unify the empire under a singular idea, under a singular focus. He wants to, make a change. He has actual hopes and aspirations for the world. I'm assuming you guys know the quote, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
I thought it was blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, but maybe I'm getting my metaphors mixed up.
I mean, chaos is involved at some point, but they're more at the far end. This is still the beginning of where shit hits the fan.
Only the beginning.
Yes.
That's okay. That's okay. Like I said, let it burn.
So Wilhelm, he kind of like he wants to unify, but because the empire has gone through 207 years of just pure chaos and anarchy, he kind of wants to bring them together. He wants to rebuild the empire, but you can't rebuild the empire without money.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching,
So
the coin.
this is because if you remember, if you remember the Elector Count, the emperor who was in Middenhelm, kind of bankrupt everyone, and at the same time was being super corrupt. So the empire wasn't exactly a very rich province at this point. It wasn't a very rich empire.
Because they kept on raising taxes to pay for their extravagance, just to bribe officials. So they got to raise taxes to pay off their extravagance. So they got to bribe officials, and so on and so on and so on.
Exactly. So you would think raising taxes would be a bad idea, but clearly, if you don't know history, history repeats itself. But here's the thing: Wilhelm decided to tax something that he should not have taxed. So remember how I said Stirland is a very traditional people who worship where the worship of Sigmar is very strong.
A good Sigmar-fearing people.
Yes, because they worship. I almost said feared Sigmar because they worship Sigmar so much. They disregard every other god and every other like church to the other pantheons. That included Wilhelm. So he decided to raise taxes on all the other unorthodox religions in the empire.
I don't imagine that'll go too well with a bunch of people.
Oh, no. It was awful. Horrible idea. Basically, if your religion did not worship strictly Sigmar or did not follow Sigmar's tenets to the letter, you're getting taxed. Like if Sigmar was not the chief god in your pantheon, or he was not the only god in your religious pantheon, you were going to get taxed.
Well, in the name of Gringy, I have a double-headed axe that has a few things to say about that.
I enjoy that. Very good. Now, naturally, this pissed off literally everyone. Well, not literally everyone.
You're being awfully calm about this, considering that's a diss to your Azerman, Azeryan, Azer as ass.
Look, they're gone, okay? They left. When they get milk, they said they'd come back sooner or later, okay? I'm still holding out hope.
Ooh, I think I struck a nerve there.
Not bitter, okay?
Okay, calm down.
Speaking of pettiness and resentful people, all of the priests and all of the cults, when I say cult, I don't mean like, oh, we're praying in the woods. Well, I mean, there is praying in the woods, but okay.
There's a lot more than just that.
Don't think of the modern like Sigma of cult when I mean cults. Think very much like churches and like actual just general religions. They say cults because that's what they view them as. So
Well,
just
see,
kind of don't conflate
well,
them.
well, here's the funny thing. Like historically, that's exactly what a cult was just like a gathering, a religious gathering. So, like ancient Greeks and whatnot, like you had the Greek pantheon and everything. So it's just like each gathering to dedicate to a specific Olympian god or whatnot was considered a cult.
Yeah,
And that was the
exactly.
original. That was the original intention of it, and it wasn't until wasn't until way later before that became conflated into. Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. So like don't conflate them. Like I said, imagine them very much like gather like like Joe was saying, like gatherings of just really of a religious belief. Now, here's the thing: the cult of Ulrich, which was the to explain best, it was basically like this was the cult that Sigmar himself was part of. Like he literally worshipped the god Ulrich until like he became a god himself. Now, because the god Ulrich and the cult of Ulrich predated Sigmar, they did not like being taxed on by the people who worshipped Sigmar because they believed, oh, because Sigmar himself worshipped our cult, we should be even above you guys. Like we should be above the cult of Sigmar's taxes and whatever.
That's a bold claim.
Oh, it was very much a bold claim to the point that the Aulik, who is the he's basically the Pope of the cult of Ulrich. That's the best way to put him. Except imagine like a wolf priest, like a wolf
Okay.
pope. Um, he
Demon
straight
Russ
up
would
like
be proud.
yeah, he denounced he denounced Wilhelm's emperorship. Like he was straight up, I do not recognize you as the emperor. You are not my emperor.
I'm sure that won't come back to bite him in the tail.
I mean, no, but yes. Now, the thing is that you might think, oh, well, they'll do something against them. The thing is, the cult of Ulrich was very strong and specifically very prominent in the province of Middenland, which, like I said, they have their ancestral sword again, which means that I don't want to say they have more power than the emperor, but it's very much like I don't want to say they're independent, but it's very much like who are you to say what we can do in our province when you don't even have the ancestral sword kind of thing?
So kind of like how taking this back to the Game of Thrones references because Game of Thrones is awesome. But anyways, how Tywin Lannister, Hand of the King, was the richest man in Westeros. So basically, he had like pretty much all the power in the Seven Kingdoms. So it was just like he basically had blank check to do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Pretty similar, yeah. Except instead of like a blank check, it was more just like political weight to throw around.
I should, yeah, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah. It was, yeah. I was trying to clarify, but yeah, obviously. Again, this is bad, but it gets worse because obviously,
This is Warhammer. It always gets worse.
yes. So the province of Talabakland, which for like a geography reference, is positioned right between Stirland and Midland. It's literally like sandwiched between those two provinces.
Okay.
This province will become very important right away because the elector count of Ortilia, she was literally the runner up to Wilhelm. Like she was like second place to him. Like while everyone was casting their votes for who they want the next emperor to be, she was right behind him. And the only reason why she didn't win is because the cult of Sigmar at this point had, I don't want to say carte blanche, but they could they basically had a vote. Like originally it was just the elector counts, just the provincial governors who could vote amongst themselves. But because of like political reasoning, the church was able to vote as well. And because of their votes, they were able to make Wilhelm the emperor and not Attilia. So she was naturally resentful that she couldn't become the empress. But she got even more upset because she herself actually worships Ulrich.
Ooh, yeah, I can see that not going so well.
Yeah, yeah. You further add salt to the wound, Talabakland and Stirland, during like those 207 years, they were like big rivals. Remember how I was saying like, oh, my province might attack your province to like take a city or two or like to push our borders?
Yeah.
That's basically what they would do. That's what these two provinces were constantly doing to one another during those 207 years of like political unrest.
All right.
So, you can kind of guess that this is very much like a bunch of like just badness all being thrown into like one giant pot of not okay. So, things are not going great. So she's, very much upset to the point that she actually publicly announces that Sigmar is not a god she recognizes.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Let that sink in. A political officialship says that the official religion of the empire, that the god of that religion is not a god she recognizes.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's like being a cardinal in the Catholic Church and not recognizing, the God of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, though, like I said, a lot of people among the empire were also people who worship other gods, or rather, they worship all the gods. That like Sigmar was included among their pantheons, but he wasn't the primary god, the chief god, or like the only god. But they were still being shafted because Sigmar was not given like the primary role in their respective cults.
And this is in the same time frame where any gods that aren't, or any cults that don't worship Sigmar
are being taxed. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like for reference, the second like Wilhelm was elected, within like a few years of being elected, that's when he did the whole any religion, any cult that isn't worshiping strictly Sigmar, or any cult where Sigmar is not the primary god, the chief god of that pantheon, you're getting taxed. And she was she was a runner up to that election where Wilhelm was made the emperor. Yeah. So so she's bitter to losing the election. She's bitter to her cult being taxed, or to her god being taxed. And she's also bitter to like the fact that it was literally the cult of Sigmar literally got the emperor in power.
I was gonna say, it sounds like this woman is so bitter, coffee beans go for light.
I mean, yeah.
Who could blame her, though?
I mean, I don't blame her. Like, the thing is that what I like about Warhammer is everyone could be considered like the good guy in this section. Like Wilhelm, he's raising taxes because he wants to use the money to rebuild the empire because they've gone through 207 years of just anarchy and not okayness.
But man, poor execution.
Yeah. Whereas Ottilia, she's very religious to her god, and she does not like it. Like, both these people have their reasons for what they want to do. They both have very strong opinions and very strong reasonings. You could see both of them in the right in their respective way.
But now this makes me want to know what she does to pave the way to hell with good intentions.
Well, she basically because of her political renouncement of Sigmar, she's considered, I don't want to say a martyr. What would be the word? It's not a political activist. It's someone who says something controversial, but it's like, oh, she said something controversial, but it's like it rallies people to her. I don't know I don't want to say martyr.
On the negative section, I guess disruptor. If you're looking at it from a negative head.
Yeah, I guess she'd be considered a disruptor to everyone else. I don't know what the positive connotation would be, though. I want to say political activist, the closest thing I can think of. But yeah, she was basically seen as like, oh, she says something's controversial yet so true, like, the meme. And she was actually sought after by the cult of Ulrich to like be to basically be their spokesperson. Like, oh, you said something that like promotes us. Like, thank you so much for being in our corner. Like, no one else is willing to stand up to Wilhelm except you. Thank you. But it wasn't just the cult of Ulrich who supported her. The cult of Tal and Rhea, who are the gods of fertility and the hunt, respectively, they also go to her because, again, she's almost seen as like, again, we don't know the word, like, she's basically seen almost like as a protector, is the best way to put it, like someone who will fight for the other religions, for the other gods, as someone who can defend them against effectively what they would consider a tyrant who's enforcing his control over them.
Freedom fighter?
I guess that'd be a good way to put it.
I mean, yes. I mean, this is going to bother me all night that I can't find the word for it.
Yeah, like I said, for me, the best way to put. Oh, go ahead.
Underdog?
I guess.
Yes,
like,
maybe.
For anyone who knows the word, please tell us, because we're stupid and we do not know.
Yep, we're just a silly elf, dwarf, and undead knight here.
Yes, but in his defense, he kind of doesn't have a brain because he's just bones. I don't know what our excuse is though.
Too much warp stone in your case, too much ale in my case.
So, regardless, get him more ale.
Oh, laddie, there's always more ale.
Oh god, he's switching personalities on me again.
No, you go snort the warp stone. I got a barmaid I need to have a chat with.
Hang on, wait till I'm done my story. Then I don't care what you do with the barmaid.
Oh, fine.
So this, I don't want to say a power trip goes to her head because it's not a power trip, but it kind of is. Because since she renounces Sigmar worship, she basically says that the only worship that is allowed within Talabakland, basically any religion is allowed within Talabakland except Sigmar. Like Sigmar worship banned within Talabakland's borders. Every other religion is totally allowed.
So
That's
she's kind of like pulling her. So she's kind of like pulling a reverse. Nah, I can't think of the word. Not anti-religious, like
anti-specific religion.
Sure, we'll go with that. Okay, listeners, that's another word for y'all to look up because we're dumb.
So now I don't want to say she allowed this, but she did kind of say anyone who worships Sigmar within our borders should be considered heretics and treated as such.
So it's kind of like that classic. She didn't technically say to do it, but she also didn't say not to do it.
Yeah. And the Our Ulik, who is, like I said, the Pope, the Wolf Pope, he actually relocates because, like I said, the cult set up in Midland. They actually relocate to Talabakland because of how supportive they are of Attilia. Like that's how much support they're willing to throw in her corner. But they also bring the most like militaristic and the most like extreme members with them naturally,
as you do.
Obviously. And they basically start witch hunting Sigmar worshippers.
Oh no.
They start doing really bad things to people who worship Sigmar. And they also ransack and desecrate the temples of Sigmar.
Are they burning two-tailed comets in fields and wearing suspicious hats?
They're okay. To say they do a lot of horrible things is an understatement. But
biggest understatement ever.
Yeah. And they basically view it as if you worship Sigmar, you're basically no longer human.
Hey, I resent that.
As a non-human, I resent that. How dare you lump me in with those heretics?
Don't make me get short with you now.
No. Now this gets worse though, as it naturally does, because Attilia renounces Wilhelm's authority and basically declares that he earned his position through bribery, deception, and obviously through the Church of Sigmar literally being in his pocket, or rather him being in their pocket. Again,
they're in each other's pockets.
Yeah.
Wink,
wink. She's not wrong. Like I said, she most of the time the emperor is elected through fucking bribery and lies and someone being in their corner. So she could 100% be correct. Like he probably did get his position through simple deception and trickery. So she views herself as like, I am the rightful heir. I was second place, but I only lost because you had the fucking church in your corner. So she literally renounces his authority and declares that Talabakland will be independent. It will literally secede from the empire. To add extra salt in the wound, in what's it called? Stirland, I believe is Stir. Talabakland is Talahelm. Yeah, Talahelm. The capital of Talahelm, she literally is crowned in the capital by both priests of Ulrich and Tal. Like they both place a crown on her head, and she's declared the empress of the empire.
I'm wondering how the logistics of wearing two crowns actually works. It's just like, can one fit
it's a crown made by both of them. Basically, both the two priests work together to make a crown that represents both of their respective gods, and they put one crown on her head.
Ooh, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. So like Ulrich is like the god of wolves, Tal is the god of harvest of the hunt, I believe. So it could be like the crown's never described, but you could imagine like you combine the gods of like the hunt and like fucking wolves and like war and bullshit, and it creates this really just amazing crown of awesomeness.
That's kind of cool. Makes
Yeah.
me think of like the OG like Pharaoh, Crown of the Pharaohs. Because
Ooh, that
like
sounds cool.
because like in history, Egypt was like split into two parts, and they each had their own separate crown for their separate king. Well, once Egypt actually unified, all they did was just combine the two crowns, and now that's what you actually see on the hieroglyphs and then the sarcophagus and all that stuff.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Fun fact.
So
I was gonna say
This-
our undead friend should know about this. This is his culture. Are you alive over there? Oh wait, too soon.
I died like 3 weeks ago. I'm still learning.
I'm still learning how to breathe without lungs. Wait, how do I breathe?
How do I
The
breathe? with
worms do it
lungs?
for me.
Oh my god. So, following the Age of Wars, and predating the war or the Age of Three Emperors is the Age of Two Emperors.
Hmm.
Now, when I say the Empire split in two, that's not truly correct. That's kind of a misnomer because because it's more Talabakland has seceded from the Empire, whereas the rest of the Empire still, I don't want to say it's unified because Wilhelm's kind of fucking everyone up and making everyone mad at him.
Because I'm looking at the map here, and it's like Telebacland looks like it's like kind of like in the middle, so it'd essentially be fighting two fronts if the Empire was unified.
Yeah.
Like the Empire is doing Telebacland's job for them, and being too much shit. What's the one I'm thinking of?
Disunified?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still sipping some of Mark's Van Rizian ale, the good stuff, you know.
That's fair. The thing is that upon hearing that, oh, Attilia has, crowned herself empress. Well, you know what? I have like all the other provinces on my side. I'll just unite an army and just attack Telebacland, which would naturally make sense. The problem is Attilia is a very talented commander, whereas Wilhelm is okay. He's not a bad commander by any stretch of means, but despite the fact that his army outnumbered hers by I think it was like 3 or 4 to 1, she still won by an insane margin.
We won, by the way.
Like I don't mean like despite being outnumbered 4 to 1, she still like it was no. I mean it was considered a humiliating defeat on the part of Wilhelm's forces.
Dude just got bodied.
Yeah. Now, not only is that bad because he's the emperor, everyone's going to be like, oh, the emperor lost the fight. No, he was uniting the forces of several provinces together alongside his own. So not only did he lose humiliatingly, but he also ended up causing other provinces to lose parts of their standing army.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did those two ever actually fight, like meet on the battle or whatnot?
I believe they're both commanding their individual armies from a distance.
I can imagine after the humiliating loss, it's just she just walks up to him. He's just on his knees begging for his life, and she just goes, "Pathetic."
Good meme.
Because we love bringing old memes back up.
Indeed. Now, because she wins this, it actually causes a lot of the other like provinces. They don't secede. They don't secede officially, but they do start pulling support away from Wilhelm. Like they pay their taxes, but they pay less than they should. They're providing less forces when he calls to them. They're not rebelling, but they're definitely not giving him what he's owed.
Civil disobedience.
Yep. Now, you can't see on the map, and the reason why is because it no longer exists. There is another province called Drackweld, and that is actually the province where the previous emperors, like the ones who were really corrupt, originated from. They relocated to Middenland when they became emperors. So technically, like I said, Middenland did do something wrong because they had the emperor, but the corrupt line of emperors came from Drachenwald. The reason why Drakenwald doesn't exist is because during like this conflict between Stirland and Talbakland, Middenland basically took advantage of the political unrest to literally consume Drakenwald because no one could stop them because everyone is busy trying to deal with Ottilia.
Let's see. That province is infighting. That province is infighting. Ooh, I got a weak little province here. Yum.
Yes, I should also mention that Drakenwald was attacked by both Middenland and Nordland. Most of his vengeance for having a line of corrupt emperors come from that province. Yeah.
Again, this just proves that even in 40k, the Imperium is its own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you think the War of Two Emperors ends?
There can be only one.
No, they both die.
Oh, there can be only none.
Because what happens is I believe they go to Midland. I think that's where they go. They both basically it's meant to be like a peace. It's meant to be like they've been at war with each other for years at this point. For reference, and it's been like, okay, you know what? Let's form a peace treaty. Let's try to like form some form of like succession. We'll marry our houses. We'll do something that like end this civil war because it's obviously getting bad at this point. So the emperor and empress are to meet. I believe it's in Middenhelm, which is the capital of Middenland, and they're gathering there to have a peace treaty, whatever, discuss it. The problem is that during this discussion, which quickly devolves into an argument, the two leaders are constantly arguing with each other. Blah blah blah. They're fighting. Blah blah blah. This is where something bad happens, namely a Khornate invasion.
All right.
Yeah, skulls for the skull throne, blood for the blood god.
I was right. It was paid with skulls for the skull throne.
Imagine, a UN Senate meeting, but out of nowhere, like Kabunda or like a bloodthirster fucking drops out of the ceiling and starts murdering everyone.
Khan smiles upon us.
Naturally, it's not great.
No, not good for the liver either.
So while they die, the thing is that they managed to defeat the bloodthirster in like the Khornate invasion, but like the meeting hall is destroyed, and I don't want to say there's no evidence, but there's mostly just like hearsay and rumor of what happened at this like Senate meeting, and this ends up causing Stirland and Talbakland to quickly start to like hear the worst possible rumor imaginable, like the worst version of the story, as well as like hearing, oh, our emperor or our leader is dead, and it's because of them who did it. Like they killed our emperor, they killed our leader, or whatever happens. Because if there's anything Khorne likes, it's more war. So this begins what is called the Ottilian dynasty. So over Talbakland, I believe it's Ottilia's son. She becomes the new emperor of Talbakland. As for the rest of the empire, they've lost their emperor, which means they're forced to elect a new one. The problem is that the empire is obviously divided at this point, so they can't properly decide on who the new emperor is going to be, and they just continue to argue with each other over who should be the new one, which also causes the Ottilian dynasty, which is what Talbakland eventually becomes, to actually gain more supporters, not officially. Like none of the provinces like join them, but they have like supporters among all of the provinces, basically, who are feeding them like money, who are feeding them troops, who are feeding them like anything to like help them in this like endeavor. Now, would you believe me if I said that this period of civil war lasted another 200 years? What was it, Gerald? You're kind of cutting out on me. Oh, I can't hear you, Gerald.
His larynx has been sucked into the warp.
Oh no. I mentioned Khorne and now he's been swallowed up.
Okay, hello.
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. The thin risen ale was starting to kick in there. Anyways,
Last learned speech.
I already forgot what I was going to say. So continue on. It'll come back to me eventually.
Okay. So the age of two emperors lasts a good 200 more years. And like I said, Telebackland, the Attilian dynasty is getting supporters across the entire empire, with different emperors being elected from all the provinces. But again, there's kind of a point where this war is kind of dragging on, and kind of people just want it to end almost. The problem is, when people want it to end, they kind of want their side to win. So this kind of just, it becomes, I don't want to say it becomes a stalemate, but it kind of becomes
A losing stalemate.
yeah, for everyone involved. Now, this actually causes like I said, the provinces don't officially change sides, but they begin pulling support from like one side to another, and it's very like on the flip of a coin almost. Like you might have a province that supports Stirland one year, and then suddenly the next they switch and support Telebackland and the Attilian dynasty. Like it's very flip flopping.
Ooh, fair weather provinces. I hate those.
So this is bad for everyone involved, but it gets worse, obviously, because it always does.
How could it possibly get worse? You done screwed up there. You had to ask.
So remember the cult of Ulrich, how they were super supportive of the Attilian dynasty?
Yes.
Well, they're still super supportive. The problem is that people within the empire, and especially in the Attilian dynasty of Telebackland, were starting to support the cult of Ulrich more than they were supporting the actual emperor or empress of Telebackland, which naturally upset the emperor of Telebackland. Because
As it would.
Yeah, because the cult of Ulrich was getting not only support, but they had a massive amount of like influence and power to the point that it actually had a faith militant, like a militant branch of the church. Again, go back to Game of Thrones. We know that's not a good thing.
Yep, churches and militant branches don't go too well together.
Yeah.
Well, for them maybe, but not for everyone else.
No, exactly. Now, to deal with this, as the emperor or the empress at this time, I'm not sure who is the emperor or empress at this time. They basically enact a number of laws to limit the amount of power that the churches or the cults have within the empire, which you remember is what caused this entire fucking mistake in the first place.
Yep, and we've come around full circle.
Yeah. This strip leads to the cult of Ulrich literally abandoning Telebackland.
Oh
Like,
man.
yeah, they straight up abandon it and basically return back to Middenland. Do you want to give me 1 second? I have to go to the bathroom fast.
Please stand by. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So, they return to Middenland, which, that's their ancestral home. They're going to go back to Middenland. Now, at around this time, right around when the Attilian dynasty is kind of relieving power from the cult of Ulrich, at the same time, I believe it's in Null, I believe it is. There's a new election for the next emperor. The previous one died in an event, again, in a failed battle again, trying to retake Telebackland. It's a common thing where basically you can't take Telebackland. It's just not worth it. You can't properly invade. You constantly keep losing. So they're trying to get they're trying to elect a new emperor. Now, this younger man named Siegfried, he comes from Midland, and he's very starry-eyed, is the best way to put it. He's very much like, okay, well, you know what? I'll elect myself to become emperor. I will nominate myself to become the emperor. I will.
So well for the last few dozen folks that tried that.
Well, I don't want to say it was like a one-sided defeat against Telebackland, because they would take ground. It was more just like, how is the entire empire losing to a single province kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are they still failing to retake the province?
Because the only thing that can defeat the empire is the empire.
Pretty much. So Siegfried's gonna nominate himself. He's like, you know what? I will nominate myself to become the emperor, and I'll bring everyone together. Like, I don't want to understate how starry-eyed he is, and I don't want to say he's naive. It's more that he's hopeful. So he's very much like, you know what? I will do it, because he believes in diplomacy, in democracy, and he believes that just the very honor itself like just honor itself will carry him to victory. He's very much like a Ned Stark because we're making a lot of Song of Ice and Fire references today. I don't know why.
I was just about to say, "Oh, sweet summer child."
Yeah. He's very much like, I believe in democracy, in diplomacy, and I believe that honor and faith will carry us to the day of victory.
My loyalty is to the Republic, to democracy. See, there's another reference for you, or a
good. I
different
love Star
franchise
Wars.
reference.
Here's the thing. Speaking of Star Wars, remember Anakin's line to Padme, where if they can't agree, they should be made to agree.
Yes.
So Siegfried goes null to to the elections where all the provinces are gathering to elect the new emperor, and they're all like, he's noticing there's only a few a few counts who are electing themselves, and he's like, you know what, I will, because he's the elector count of Middenland. He's he's a provincial governor. He's like, you know what, I'll elect myself as governor. So he's going to the podium to like put his name in to put his name out of there. It's like, oh, I'm nominating myself for position of the emperor. The moment he steps onto the podium, the Grand Thaumaturgist, who is basically the Pope of the Cult of Sigmar, points a crossbow at him.
Oh, sorry.
And he immediately sits down. It's at that point that he realizes very quickly that no one else is going up to the podium, that the only people who put their names up to the podium were people that the Grand Thaumaturgist allowed to go up there. He also starts noticing, he kind of puts together that it doesn't matter who you vote for out of the elector counts, because whoever gets elected is going to be in the pocket of the Grand Thaumaturgist.
So, history lesson again. In the Holy Roman Empire, there was a common saying: your vote doesn't count. Your count votes for you.
That sounds about right.
Yep. And adding to the corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures, between Empire Man and Holy Roman Empire. They're the same picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So, realizing this, he doesn't even cast his vote. Like, he doesn't even vote for someone to be the emperor. He just abstains from it, which is an option you have. Like, it isn't like, oh, it isn't a big thing if he abstains. It's almost sad because he thought that by abstaining from the vote, he was proving a point. Because again,
oh, sweet summer child.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's naive. He's very hopeful, but he underestimates the sheer political machinations at work here. So he returns to Middenland, and in his rage and bitterness, he offers the cult of Ulrich a place by his side because they've already been dejected from Talabakland, and the rest of the Empire isn't exactly open to other religions, especially if this entire event took place because of a fucking religious war.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, you know what? I will offer the cult of Ulrich a place on my side. This is their ancestral home anyway. They'll come back to me because Middenland is a very traditional place as well, but much older, in that they worship Ulrich more than Sigmar. So he calls them back. Now, when he comes back, because he has the ancestral sword, he has the call of Ulrich backing him, and he's full of fucking bitterness. What do you think happens with our good friend Siegfried here?
I'm drawing up a blank right now. Shit.
Mine.
What about you, Jack? What do you think? What do you think of our friend Siegfried here? What do you think he does?
Let me knock on his head to make sure.
Executed.
He is crowned also emperor.
Ah,
He's crowned the first wolf emperor.
all right. I like his style.
So this is the official beginning of the Age of Three Emperors.
Oh, so all this was just the setup for the setup for the setup.
Yep. This is where the Three Emperors officially begins. So, to reference, it's all a fucking religious mess. Which I find hilarious because the Cult of Ulrich leaves, supports someone, they lose support someone else, and now there's 3 emperors that are all fighting for who knows what reasons now.
We'll get a province to support us one day. One day.
Now this is where it gets really funny because all of these provinces, like Talabakland, Midland, and Stirland, they all claim to be like the main province of the empire, but officially, all 3 of them are independent, and all the other provinces are technically the empire now.
So this really is like War of the Five Kings. No wonder we're making all these Game of Thrones references.
Yeah, in my notes, it literally says. War of the Five Kings ?
See, we're on the same wavelength here.
Yep.
Kind of makes me wonder if George R.R. Martin didn't take a few notes from Warhammer Fantasy.
Probably.
George R.R. Martin, you hack.
I mean, given everything we've mentioned with the fucking creeping snow and everything, it's pretty accurate.
Yep. Darn it. Why do you have to hack GW like that? Actually, no. Love your work, George R.R. Martin. Please finish Winds of Winter. Please.
Don't delay it by another 10 years, please.
Please don't kill another Stark either.
I mean, what's left for him to kill?
But don't you know every time someone asks, he kills another Stark. So stop asking about it.
So, if it wasn't obvious, the Empire is what we like to call in the business a broken mess.
A broken mess is putting it lightly.
Yeah. To the point that like all the provinces that are, like I said, official part of the Empire, they're basically not. The Empire is now basically just the province of Reichland, like officially. All the other provinces are like flip-flopping between whether or not they're part of the Empire officially, or if they're part of like any of the 3 like branch empires. To the point that the map. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is making me think of another Holy Roman Empire joke.
To the point that like if you look at the map that I'm sending right now, it's basically just Reichland surrounded by 3 separate empires.
You've got mail.
Yep, that tracks.
Like Reichland just by itself, and then you have the fucking 1 empire, 2 empire, 3 empires just by itself.
Okay, so back to the Holy Roman Empire joke. There was basically a saying where it wasn't holy, it wasn't Roman, and it sure as hell wasn't an empire, but it was the. That pretty much sounds like the Empire of Man.
Yes. But this is where it gets even more topical. Because how did the Holy Roman Empire fall? Well, there's a lot of reasons. But one of the
reasons.
Okay, what was one of the reasons that was not internally based?
Wasn't it Napoleon?
I don't think it was Napoleon. Well, Napoleon was an outside source, was he not?
Yes, he was an outside source.
Isn't Napoleon like 1700s?
Yes, but Holy Roman Empire kind of chugged along for a good while. I can't remember when specifically it just kind of went. But
really?
Oh, okay. Let's consult Google here.
Oh. Here, you know what? I'll just answer the question for you because we're just walking in circles at this point. I feel like Napoleon is too late. It was outside invaders. Because as you know, the Holy Roman Empire, or rather the for short, was assaulted by barbarians on its borders. So
kind of like Rome.
Indeed. So this space, there's a lot of ages until we get like all these count as part of the Age of 3 Emperors, but this age within the Age of 3 Emperors is called the Dark Age.
As if everything else before wasn't already a dark age.
No, because this is where things get worse.
Worse.
Because, like I said, not only are all the provinces flip-flopping between being part of the empire originally, which is Reichland at this point, being part of one of the 3 branch empires, or just being left completely independent at this point. So,
and quick sidebar. The very last Roman emperor was Francis II, who reigned from 1792 to 1806.
Booyah. Napoleon, baby.
That's fucking wild.
Okay. Continue.
That's actually pretty wild. But Yeah. So basically, sorry, I got distracted by the fact that the Holy Roman Empire lasted so fucking long. So yeah, like I said, basically you have, if you're a province that isn't Reichland or Talabecland or Midland or Stirland, your choices are join one of those empires or become independent.
Or die.
Yes, or die.
Or sometimes all three, and not
yes.
necessarily in the same order.
Yes. So naturally, all these ones are going to war with each other basically because they're independent or they're at fucking war with everyone else. The thing is, though, is that while the Empire was, trugging along super good, was basically like uncontested for so long, this is where basically everyone sees them as like a crippled horse in the race. So to the east of the Empire, you'll see a place called the Border Princes. These are basically mercenaries, and like I mentioned before, they're similar to like Cadians in that they keep orcs and bullshit out. They basically become mercenaries to everyone. Mostly Averland, though. Basically, Averland hires them like by the shitloads, like even going so far as to like offer them like territory and land, and like uses them to like help. So the Border Princes are getting involved in this, which is kind of cool for them, I guess. But they're mostly just sellswords. Also, do you remember how Sigmar, kind of took care of all the orcs and all the beastmen?
Yes, by becoming the Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah, they're back because the Empire is kind of too busy fighting itself to deal with the orcs and the beastmen.
Ah, darn it.
This is where it gets even funnier, though. Well, depends on who you ask. If you're the orcs, it's fucking hilarious.
If you're the dwarves want revenge on the Empire, it's definitely hilarious.
Oh, the dwarves are also involved.
Oh, do tell more.
Oh, they're more just like taking back land that was stolen from them. They're not invading the Empire. They're more just like getting vengeance by taking back land that was taken from them.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Like I said before, let it burn.
They also don't stop the orcs because remember how the Border Princes were basically being pulled away from like their lands to help in this clusterfuck of a war.
Indeed.
That basically meant that the people guarding the passageway between where the orcs come from and the Empire was basically less defended. And because the dwarves didn't exactly care about the Empire at this point, they kind of didn't stop them. So the orcs kind of just trudged their way in, basically uncontested.
Well, considering the Empire basically broke the alliance with the dwarves, it's just like I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm not going to save you either.
I don't have to save you.
I don't have to save you.
Now, why this is funny is because after this happens, because the Empire doesn't get help basically from the Empire to stop them, or rather doesn't get help to keep the orcs out. The orcs basically uncontested invade the Empire, mostly in what's called Solland. And when I mean they invade Solland, I mean they ransack it and kill like so many people. And I should also mention at this point that the Electric Hand of Solland did find the Rune Fang, only to end up losing it to the orcs, who took it and stole it with themselves.
Oh, sad day.
Yep. Quick fast, Midland gets divided. Westerland kind of threatens to secede, almost secedes, and then eventually does secede. I'm kind of these are basically bullet points because this period of time is similar to the Horus Heresy, where there's big events, but they don't fully go into them. So I'm kind of I'm kind of putting them down so you guys know that these things do happen. There isn't a timeline of when they do, but yeah, Westerland does threaten to secede. Eventually, does secede in the future. Solland is invaded by the orcs. Their Electric Hand was killed, and his legendary Rune Fang stolen. Our buddy, our skeleton friend over here, the person responsible for his creation, Nagash, resurrects himself for a single night. Like for literally like 12 hours, he resurrects himself back from the dead, and every single dead body across the Empire also comes back to life with him.
Oh my, that's like Night King on steroids.
Yeah. It only lasts like 12 hours, so like only for 12 hours are these zombies raised from the dead. But you can imagine there's a fuck ton of these.
What the heck kind of Cinderella bullshit did he pull? Only 12 hours?
I don't know.
By the
Um,
12th stroke of midnight, they will all die again.
I should also mention Nordland is also like seeing like the worst amount of invaders, like raiders from the north, from Norska, because like they do occasionally get invaded. But the thing is that to invade Nordland, you have to cross the Sea of Claws, which is like a turbulent, like stormy sea. Like they can do it, they just don't like doing it. But like the raids in Nordland are getting progressively worse and worse. And because the war in the Empire is so close to the center, a lot of Nordland forces are forced to leave their province to like fight everyone else.
Wait a minute, I thought Glorious Mother Kislev was supposed to be like that buffer in the north.
If they go by land, if they cross by the ocean, then it's a different story.
Okay.
Yeah, they just don't like crossing the ocean because again, it's a very stormy sea. Yeah, it's basically like, oh, we can cross the ocean, but there's a good chance some of our longships will die. Or we can cross through Kislev, fight our way through Kislev to get into the Empire.
Whereas does Kislev kind of pull like what the dwarves says, well, I don't have to save you.
Well, the thing is that they can't, even if they don't have to save them, they still have to like this is if they go by land. What I mean, like if Norska invades by land, they have to cut through Kislev, which means they're gonna like raid Kislev anyway, so they have to defend them. They have to defend themselves at the very least. Whereas, yeah,
I was gonna say with what we talked about in the last episode, where basically they built the wall and made the Kislevs pay for it. They'd be a little salty about it and just
they are salty.
Yeah, you can cross over.
They're salty. They're friends, but they're pretty salty.
So salty, even the Dead Sea is considered low sodium.
Oh my god! So this is not a great time. But again, it gets fucking worse.
Well, better ask that question. Well, how could it get worse?
So if you notice the map I posted again, the final map I posted, you'll notice that there's another province that just suddenly sprung up out of nowhere on the map. That's all black.
Black.
It says Sylvania. Now,
Sylvania. Wait a minute.
Can you guess the theme of Sylvania?
Wait a minute. I don't want to.
So on top of, the Night of the Restless Dead, which is where zombies raise for 24 hours or raise for 12 hours, the ever-increasing amount of raiders from Norska, the orcs that are invading the Empire from the east, Bretonnia, which is also invading to a point, the Border Prince's sellsword mercenaries, who are also kind of invading technically. You also have an event called the Vampire Wars, where it's revealed that Sylvania, the province, it's technically a sub-province of the Empire. Turns out every single one of the nobles and the dukes and whatever, every single one of them is a vampire.
Ah, damn it.
Hey, bartender, put some garlic in my next pint, please.
So, do you see why this is called a Dark Age?
It is definitely dark, and it is definitely an age.
Now, remember I said there was basically 4 empires at this point? They have Midland, Helbackland, and Stirland, and Reichland.
So it was called the Age of 3 Emperors, but it's technically like 4 different empires.
Yep.
Because GW and
you can basically call this point, the Dark Age, the Age of Many Empires, the Age of Many Emperors, or the Age of No Emperors, because basically every single province has now officially broken apart from the Empire. It no longer exists, basically.
I secede from the Empire. No, I secede from the Empire. What Empire?
Now, I don't fully comprehend how the Empire survives. Well, they rally under a descendant of Sigmar, but
spoiler alert.
I'll get to it when I get to it. He's named after my favorite character, Warhammer 40k. Basically, the Empire is being fisted and cut and stabbed and just fucking wrecked. The Empire is being kicked while it's dying on the ground at this point.
It is just getting bodied left and right and center and just sideways and slunk ways.
I should also mention ogres also invade. And so do Dark Elf pirates.
Does Malekith make an appearance? Does your favorite elf make an appearance?
Oh, definitely. He tries to invade Uthwan.
Okay, does he try to invade the Empire?
No, but he does send pirates over there to prevent the Empire from supporting Uthwan, which I don't fucking know why the Empire would try to help Uthwan right now, because they're kind of, getting punched and kicked by everyone else. Oh, one more thing. Norland basically gets invaded by demons.
As you do.
I'm pretty sure it's Middenland that also has, or it's Middenhelm, like the capital of Middenland. Basically becomes like overtaken by demons. Like there are demons like walking the streets and murdering everyone.
Well then, does it specify which chaos faction?
It's all of
is
them.
mostly
It's all of them.
Just all of them. Okay.
Yep.
Undivided.
Yeah. Eventually, Magnus the Pious, who is named as my favorite character, Magnus the Red. He's apparently a descendant of
You still
Sigmar.
did very
We'll have
much
that
wrong.
sorted out eventually. He's apparently a descendant of Sigmar, but it's unconfirmed. It's implied that he is, but it's unconfirmed.
Tell us he's a descendant without actually telling us he's a descendant.
Yeah. Basically, the reason why he's considered a descendant is because he's just superhumanly strong, charismatic, and good. He also does what Sigmar did, as in he basically kicks everyone's shit in, tells them to get their ass in line, and we're saving this fucking train wreck of an empire.
Well, damn, if it was that simple, why didn't they do it before?
Well, they weren't Magnus the Pious, who is, like I said, he's very strong, very powerful, very just awesome. And to prove his worth, he also steps into the flames, the same flames that Sigmar stepped into that were in Middenland. If you remember, he fought. Yeah, he basically walks in there and gets divine power bullshit.
Our brief talk about Malekith made me think of the Flame of Azrael. Like, why would he go all the way there?
Yeah, there's a weird thing about people walking the flames when it comes to gods and some bullshit. But yeah, Magnus the Pious basically he kicks everyone's shit in, tells them to stop being a bunch of bitches, and says that we're stopping chaos because the orcs have left at this point. The Border Prince mercenaries have retreated because no one can pay them. The zombies are gone. It's mostly just chaos at this point. That's the big threat. And Magnus basically rides everyone. And it's at this point that, again, Magnus will have his own episode. Like, I'm confident. I want him to have his own episode because he's a character that needs to have it. But to cover what he does very briefly, he saves Kislev from basically being destroyed because chaos is invading both from the seas and through Kislev.
All right, maybe Kislev survives.
Ish.
Maybe. I mean, they survive, but their capital city is so ravaged by this invasion that it's considered permanently cursed and is basically considered Chernobyl.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Luckily, though, Magnus the Pious is not someone who's going to let Kislev suffer because...
So he's not going to let it go.
Yeah, because Magnus the Pious kind of recognizes that the Empire needs Kislev. So he, again, I'm covering it very briefly because Magnus the Pious will have his own episode. Don't hate me. No, like any listeners who are like, how dare you not cover Magnus the Pious' 17th journey, his alliance with Teclis, all this bullshit. I will have an episode on him. Do not worry. It's going to happen at a later.
Remember, dear listeners, this is Warhammer Fantasy. Just like 40K, this lore is
vast
and
chunk.
We're trying to do this in like bite-sized episodes, even though the 2-hour timestamp would seem to, offer otherwise. We're trying our best here to make it bite-sized for you guys.
Yeah.
It's a lot to cover.
Yep. But in short, Magnus the Pious defeats the Chaos Invasion and does manage to save Kislev and save the Empire. Now, because of everything he does, he is then elected the Emperor of the Empire.
Oh, wait, so all this was before he became the Emperor?
Yeah.
Okay, based.
Yeah, like I said, he basically, I don't want to say he unites, because unite means that he brings them together. He basically forces everyone to cooperate, then defeats Chaos, and then he's elected as the Emperor.
Oh, so he is the one that forces them to all agree.
Yep. Which is another reason why people think that he's Sigmar's like long lost descendant. Which might be a thing, because like I said, and I believe in our Sigmar episode I mentioned that he fucked a chariot girl for her cavalry forces.
Yes.
So yeah, like I said, Magnus Ophiuchus, he defeats chaos. He does all these amazing things. Again, he will have his own episode. I can guarantee it. It won't be the next one because just a little spoilers. The next episode will not cover humans. Don't worry. So, Magnus Ophiuchus does all those things. He saves the empire, and this is what could be considered the end of the age of empire of the three emperors, which is kind of funny because it goes from no emperor, one emperor, two emperor, three emperor, seven emperors, to back to one emperor.
One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Exactly. Now, that's the general concept of the Age of Three Emperors, which is what GW will be covering in the release of the Old World. Now, as much as I've covered a lot of stuff, this is just the Empire that's going to be involved. I will have future episodes written up for all the other factions that are supposed to take place in the Old World, like the actual setting itself when it comes out. Those will include Bretonia, Araby, which is the equivalent to Arabia. I believe Ind will be involved, the Ogre Kingdoms, Grand Cathay, actual Kislev, because there's a lot of stuff on Kislev that covers during the Age of Three Emperors. There's a lot of factions that are involved at this point. I have just covered the Empire, and again, I'm not skipping. I am making do with what was given for the Age of the Three Emperors, because there is stuff that is very in depth. For example, the battle between Ottilia and I believe it's Wilhelm. Like there's a full event for their battle I can't gloss over. Maybe I'll cover it. I don't think I will because it's just a battle. Maybe we'll do battles at some point. We don't have to. So like there is stuff that's really well in depth, and there's literally just bullet points. Like I said, the Night of the Restless Dead. That's just a fucking bullet point about Nagash raising the dead for like fucking 12 hours.
I'm sure we can make that into a 2-hour episode if we really wanted to.
Oh, I could talk about Nagash for 2 hours, no problem.
And we should definitely bring Jack back on, since that should be his realm of his forte.
I have a lot of reading to do, I'll be honest.
It's okay. We'll have a Tomb Kings episode one day. Tomb Kings are cool. I can respect them. Oh, another thing, Tomb Kings are involved in this. Like not only is Nagash involved, but the Tomb Kings do have some invasions going on as well during this time that I did not cover because they did not invade the Empire. I believe they were invading Araby as well.
So the OG Necrons that were actually not Necrons decided to do some Necron shit.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I'm skipping over. For example, the Chaos Cult and the Ogre invasions and whatever. Those I will cover in Magnus Ophiuchus' eventual episode. Like I will cover specific characters eventually, especially big ones like Magnus or the Everchosen. I have not mentioned the Everchosens yet. I will cover them, all of them, especially Archaon, because in case it wasn't obvious, Archaon's kind of important to the end of the world.
I know a little bit about him.
Isn't he like the fantasy equivalent to Abaddon?
I would say Malekith is closer to Abaddon because Archaon actually succeeds, whereas Abaddon's known to fail, and Malekith constantly fails.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Well, no, I like Malekith a million times more than I like Abaddon, but at the end of the day, Malekith fails quite often.
Yeah, Malekith's like the one elf character I actually do kind of like. No, that's secret. That's secretly why I actually enjoy most of the elf characters. But don't tell Ray that. What?
So, any questions, any comments on the Age of Three Emperors that I did not cover? You guys want any quick elaborations on?
So Game of Thrones light, awesome.
This makes me want to go back and watch like the first 6 seasons of the show.
What about our undead friend here? Any thoughts, any opinions on this just fustercluck of a religious war that turned into a political one that turned back into a religious one?
Not really. I think you covered as many bases as need to be covered. I haven't got any real questions.
That's good. That's good.
You done your job well, teacher.
I aim to teach. Whew, that's good. I'm happy. I am happy you guys enjoyed this event. Again, I will have more episodes written up for this age specifically, But again, don't worry about this point in time for now because next couple episodes I will not. Well, there's some Patreon stuff I'm going to mention up eventually when we get to that right away.
Do we have? Is there another topic that you're wanting to bring up first?
Before we get to Patreon,
Yeah,
um,
because I totally did not study for this pop quiz.
there's not very much I aim to cover. That I need to say any more than what's been said. Except that Magnus Opus is pretty cool. He's definitely a child of Sigmar, and I can't wait for the Age of Three Emperors to actually become a game because Kislev's gonna get an army, and so is Grand Cathay, and I'm gonna fucking fuck shit up with the Dragon Emperor.
Ooh, there's a Dragon Emperor.
Cathay is ruled by basically an even better version of the God Emperor of mankind.
Ooh, that's heresy, my friend. But ooh,
Look, listen. When I look, you have the Emperor of Man, right? He's a cool guy, 12-foot tall demigod, bullshit power, whatever. But consider fantasy China ruled by an immortal god demigod guy who has the power to turn into a dragon with jade scales and can call down motherfucking meteors.
the only thing I love more than wolves is dragons.
That's motherfucking right. Oh, I should also mention they have like armies that are based that are just fucking cool, and God, Cathay is so cool. I can't wait for their episode.
Definitely
Me,
a
like-
good time.
Yes.
But otherwise, I don't really have much more to say.
All right then. This is all very much getting me hyped for all the other topics we will be discussing.
Yes. Like I said, Warhammer Fantasy is a very broad series, and I'm happy that it's one that's coming back because it's just a generally awesome series. But otherwise, I think we should do some Patreon announcements.
Sure. We actually have a couple of shout outs to give. Once again, a huge thank you to our dear the Honorable Knight Sir Flub de Montfort. And then the very noble dwarf Slappy. Thank you for your continued patronage. But we also have a new patron, aka Grog.
Good man. I'm a good man. I'm a good man, Grog. Good man.
And actually, I made the mistake. Let me make that correction real quick. He is the Honorable Knight Sir Grog. There we go.
Yes. Good man. Good Grog. Good man.
But also, just a huge thank you to all of our patrons and our wonderful members of the Discord. This whole thing would not be possible without your support and your hype and your enthusiasm. It's just really awesome to create just a community like this to just nerd out over shit.
Yes. I actually do want to do a good shout out to our friend Jack here because for those who don't know, Jack has his own hobbies that he does that are quite impressive that make me jealous.
Indeed.
Because yes, he's for anyone who doesn't know, he does 3D prints. He does custom things with 3D prints that are very impressive. One of the ones he showed me, I had a Slanesh reaction at the sight of it because it was impressive.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bleep out your next couple of sentences.
Oh, they're not gonna be sentences. It's mostly gonna be quite loud moans, but
Oh boy.
so
That means a lot to hear. Thank you.
yes. So this is also kind of a shout out to you as well, though. For anyone who wants, like let's say you have a Space Marine, because Warhammer. If you have a Space Marine like shoulder pads you want done, feel free to like send him a message. You can discuss with him because he does fantastic work. I cannot recommend him enough.
As
Like,
someone that's
I-
also had a bunch of custom work for like my Space Marines and just like other 40K stuff in general, I can attest Jack is excellent. You will not be
Yes.
disappointed.
Yes, you have both of our
Wow, thank you.
yeah, both of our approvals. So anyone who sees this episode, you guys want to hit him up. I don't know if you want to drop your details, if you want to message, if you want to like anyone to like message you or whatever, Jack. If you want to like do your shit, or you want to just
No, I don't want to take advertising space on your podcast and feel rude doing it.
I don't know. We're shutting you out. I
Oh,
honestly,
nonsense. Yeah.
yeah. Like, I don't care. This is honestly just us kind of giving, because I cannot express how impressed I was when I seen the shoulder pad you made for my chapter. I'm kind of going on a little bit to like. I do want to express that he does fantastic work.
Mhm.
So, this is more of just kind of like, yeah, you should get the praise. So like, feel like, indeed like.
This is like us showing our gratitude to you for what you do and just for joining us on the podcast. So you've earned this
Thank you.
advertising space, my friend.
Yeah, so by all means, shout yourself out, drop your deets, drop whatever you need, and yeah, go ahead.
It means a lot. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm drinking some water fast.
Fast?
But
Yes.
yes, warp zone, yes. So again, thank you to Jack for being on. I do want to say, for anyone who does want to join us on our episodes, you can obviously join if you're in our. Oh my fucking god! I just seen the fucking meme that he posted. Why did I look at the memes now and I'm doing announcements?
If you want to, if you want to
Fucking
understand
God.
the context, if you
Fucking Christ! It looks so much like a.
if you want to understand, yeah, I can't say this with a straight face. Serious face. Okay.
If you want to understand the context behind what we're discussing, please
Click the link in the description and join our Patreon. And you'll get an invite to join our Discord. So you can.
I was not expecting that.
So you can join a like-minded group of. I can't do this anymore. Cut it.
I didn't think you'd get that big of a reaction.
Sorry for
Okay.
the intrusion. We had a
we had a
case of-
breakdown.
Yeah, we had a mental breakdown. I want to say that was uncalled for. Our reaction was uncalled for. We said some things that were unnecessary. Saying was not okay. We would like to make an official statement that this is not the that as part of Grimlore, this is not the community we want to make. Oh, okay, I'm good. Sorry.
Oh man. Okay.
I'm good. All right, I've recovered.
Okay.
All right, so sorry. One final announcement. That now we're back. Now we're recovered officially. So this is more again a thank you to the Patreons, and I just appreciate for what they're doing, everything they're doing. If you would like to actually vote on upcoming episodes, I mentioned that the next episode will not be on humans, but I believe it will be next week or the week after. We will actually be doing. I will be putting up a poll for anyone who is part of the Patreon to make votes to vote on upcoming episodes, and I will plan on making this a reoccurring event where patrons will be able to vote on upcoming episodes. Gerald will either not be available to see them. I will lock him out from being able to witness the votes, or he will have to stay true to his oath as a dwarf and not witness the results of the poll to keep each episode a startling surprise for him.
Well, I don't know about you elves, but I keep to my oaths.
Look, one time an elf decided he was going to break an oath. That doesn't mean all of us do.
He had one oath. One oath.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to keep peace forever. I mean, that's like forever.
That's a very long time, man.
So, again, if you guys want to place your votes on upcoming episodes, join our Patreon, and you'll also get an invite to our Discord community where you can go into the meme channel and laugh for a good 15 minutes and end up falling under the table where people think that you're a Warpstone addict. I am not an addict. I can stop anytime I want. Shut up.
You know, funny thing you should mention that because a similar thing happened to me IRL. Minus the Warpstone.
Whew.
Okay.
All right. Jack, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Not really. Haven't got anything to add.
Okay, good. Say the meme channel for now, please. I don't need to lose my shit again.
I'll avoid it.
Ah, all right.
And say, you got any more of that warp stone that you gave Rayway?
I have to wait till I dig myself under again.
Ah, fine.
Don't worry, another perfect place for us to do our next trip.
Oh, really?
Yes, it'll be quite the experience. I imagine it'll be an out of this world experience, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, are we going to be visiting one of your wood elf cousins?
Does
Does he have access to any special shrooms that I don't know about?
Well, perhaps, or it might just be a big club.
Last time I hung out with wood elves didn't end so well for me.
Well, that's on you. But I got nothing more to say. I'm ready to kick out the fire, drown my last cup, and take off.
All right.
Hey, bartender, give me another
Pint of Fenrisian, please. And give me another one for
What do you have to drink, Jack?
It'll just go right through me. I wouldn't bother.
Oh my god, I fucking hate
Make that two. Both of them for me, please.
that.